For more information on my programs, please visit masajady.com. That's MASSAJADY.com. Hello, this is Masati, and welcome to my podcast, Exponential Intelligence. This is episode 101, Vanity, Beauty, and Spirituality, Part 1. This is the first episode in our series where I connect to Pure Source and answer questions about the relationships between our physical appearance and spiritual beauty or spiritual health, and show you that it is possible to have it all and be truly beautiful both inside and out. Before we get started, though, I want to remind you that our Kauai retreat is coming up next month, August 13th through the 20th. Again, the Kauai retreat in Hawaii coming up next month, August 13th through the 20th. Join me in the Waimea Canyon for an unforgettable adventure that will include beautiful hikes, powerful fireside hands-on meta-healing, and then we'll be at the luxurious St. Regis. If you've never been at the St. Regis, one of the most spectacular resorts I've held events at. Anyway, the St. Regis Resort for a series of transformational workshops you won't want to miss. You can learn more and register at the event page on my website, masajady.com. That's MASSAJADY.com. Let's go ahead and get started. Vanity, beauty, and spirituality. Vanity. Definition of vanity is that it is excessive pride in one's appearance, qualities, abilities, achievements, etc. Okay. So what's EI's perspective on vanity and spirituality? They have nothing to do with each other. Okay? Many people do. Many people think, many religious individuals think, and this is where it starts to get gray, in that gray area. Overall, okay, whether it's vanity, which is another form of ego from EI's perspective, and EI is Exponential Intelligence. Okay. It's the source where I tap into all that information that's out there. It's always been out there, and the information is, was, is, and shall be. All that information, again, is always out there beyond time and space. Okay? It's what we do with it is the important thing. So again, what is EI's perspective on vanity and spirituality? Just like any ego, just like anything that distorts you, anything that, in short, anything that you think is you and is not, whether it's good or bad, it's not connected to your pure essence or your trueness. That's the bottom line. Whether it's vanity, thinking that you're beautiful if you're not, and we'll get into the details of that. And if you're, say, super wealthy and you have that wealth, thinking that you are successful and then beyond the conditions of the timeless paradigm that we exist in, and you're not. So all those things very, very similar. The same, it's very parallel. If you think you are too submissive, for example, people, you don't think you're any better than anybody else, right? You allow people to walk all over you. That's just as worse as being vain. So that's the EI's perspective on vanity and spirituality. By the way, spirituality, what does it mean to be spiritual? Maybe that's another podcast, or maybe I've already covered it on another podcast. Many people have that wrong definition. Do spirits have vanity? Do awakened spirits have vanity? Again, the way the definition of vanity is, and I'll read it one more time, excessive pride in one's appearance, qualities, abilities, and achievement. So if you are an awakened spirit, no. Okay? Some of the people that walk the earth, sure. Those are non-awakened spirits. So if you're a non-awakened spirit, then yes, you would have vanity. An awakened spirit would not have vanity. Otherwise, they wouldn't be awakened. So do we choose how we are going to look before we reincarnate? Okay. In essence, yes, it really depends. And beauty overall, okay, beauty overall is really the connection um, to pure source. Okay? If you've noticed anything that is connected to pure source, even the ugliest of creatures, okay? There's a beauty, there's an essence around them. So that's something to remember as we go through this, and we'll talk more in detail, okay, about the nuts and bolts of that. So, so what I'm trying to say is that, and this has happened through individuals who connect to pure source, okay, or who have awakened to realizing what pure source is about through an awakened spirit. What happens is that, well, they start to become more and more beautiful, more and more attractive, more and more abundant, right? More and more youthful. Why is that? I'll leave that question open for you as we go on. So, do we choose how we are going to look before we incarnate? It depends on, well, it depends on how awakened you are. Most spirits, I would say about 98, 99% of spirits that come or reincarnate uh, do not have a choice because they're not awakened. They'll take whatever, say, their mother, father has, or whatever the family lineage is brought down, right? The cloth that you're cut out of, they take it from there. If you are awakened, then yes, you do have a choice. Why do some spiritual religious teachings make beauty sinful? Well, in a nutshell, overall, okay, religion and spirituality, those tend to those type of paradigms or movements or school of thought, they tend to attribute physical tendencies to being good or bad. Okay, so that's an overall perspective. For example, sex, right? Having sex is disgraceful or sinful, although the most beautiful thing, another human being, right, another spirit in living form, comes from the dirtiest or the most sinful nature, or most sinful act. So again, there's a lot of thoughts that are out there over time that have created momentum. Beauty being one of them, where, and this is where they probably get it, although it's incongruent or false, okay? Where people start to get egotistical through the beauty that they have. Okay? And that ego leads them down the wrong path. So I can see where that happens. And again, in that scenario, it's absolutely true, right? Anything that leads you down the wrong path, whether it's great beauty, whether it's great poverty, right, leads you down the wrong path, well, it would be sinful on, say, EI's perspective as well. But religion has taken it too far, deeming that it is something physical, again, a physical attribute, a physical action that you're doing. They're not seeing the underlying cause of why you are, say, vain, or why that wealth is distorting you, or why sex is distorting you. If we like designer clothes, Botox, and false nails, does this make us any less spiritual than someone who does yoga, has no material desires, and lives a cosmetic-free lifestyle? Pretty funny question, but in EI's perspective and in my perspective, no, not at all. It doesn't make you any more distorted, or any less spiritual. And I'll give you the reason why. Let's say that you're doing a lot of yoga, okay? You're doing a lot of yoga, and then you start to look down upon people who don't do yoga. You start to think that you're better than anybody else because, wow, now you're doing yoga. You have that, say, physical connection, or even maybe a little glimmer of spiritual connection, right? You start to feel, let's say, that God essence come into you if you're doing yoga properly. And if you're not doing yoga properly, another essence, a dark essence, for example, coming into you, making you feel euphoric, right? Just like an abusive substance makes you feel euphoric, but it doesn't suggest that you're any better right? Or you're connected to a pure source. So in that situation, that individual who becomes egotistical and distorted, um, uh, doing their yoga, they're just as bad or as blasphemous as somebody doing Botox and false nails. On the other side, however, if you're doing, say, buying designer clothes, Botox, false nails, and it becomes a practice for you to come into your real self, it allows you to help yourself understand the true beauty that you are. And you're using that as leverage to open you up to a higher sense of self, a higher sense of, say, confidence, a higher sense of stability, right? Where you start to deserve, where you start to feel like you deserve the grandness that you are. And that allows you to come into your own space. Then it's a lot better than doing yoga or anything else that's considered spiritual. But how about doing both? Right? My point is that what is your intent behind what you're doing? Right? That's the key. If it's allowing you to connect to pure source, then it's perfectly fine. So let me tell you a little little joke. You might find it funny or not. These two wannabe priests, I'm not sure what they call them, they come up to the Father and they go, "Father, is it okay to smoke while praying?" And the Father goes, "No, no, no, you should never do anything other than just pray, if you're going to pray." Okay? And then the other wannabe priest comes up. He goes, "Okay, watch this." He goes up to the Father and goes, "Father, is it okay while I'm smoking to pray?" And the Father goes, "Yes, yes, of course, son. No matter what you're going to be doing, you should always be praying." So again, very wise individual. No matter what you're doing, you should always be doing it to connect to pure source. Okay. Moss, you keep looking noticeably younger and younger each year. Thanks. You're making me blush. And many of your clients have also reported their own age reversal effects. Why is this? I kind of talked about it on another podcast, but I'll give you the nutshell. Basically, what happens is that your spirit has a default state, okay, or a default age. Usually, it's in your most abundant or most growth phase. Okay, no matter what age you die, and the reason why I say you die, let me give you a clear example. Somebody dies; they're ridden with cancer, no matter how old they might be. Okay? They're riddled with cancer, they die, and their loved ones that can see, right, spirits on the other side, if that spirit has been awakened, what happens, and that's why you can see them, because they're awakened, they'll connect back to you. What happens is that they go, "Oh wow, I saw grandmother so-and-so, and she was glowing, she was beautiful, she was younger." Right? That's the default age. Even if you're a little kid and you died, if you are completely awakened, you would go into an older phase, and then again, that's what's defined as, say, your default spiritual age. Okay? So what happens through the process of connecting to exponential intelligence, right? What do? You come back into balance and harmony, and no matter how old you are, okay, you start coming back to your default age. And that's that beauty, that grace, that vibrancy that people see in you, right? So if you're older, you'll come back into that beauty space. If you're younger, okay, and through the process of exponential intelligence, you will look wiser, okay, beyond your years. Not necessarily, you're not going to look, say, like a 30, 40-year-old if you're 15. But again, like I said, you'll look wiser, and more adult-like, although you keep that youthful appearance. If you look at any individuals who are connected, right, they're in their 70s, 80s, and so on. Look at the Dalai Lama. Um, although he looks older, he has that youthful appearance, and that's the reason why. How is our aging process being affected by our pure source connection? Again, the purer you are, the pure connection that is, the thinner that connection space between you and your higher self, right? An awakened self. The thinner that is, where you get to a point where your higher self and your physical form are entangled without, say, that connection, or what I call the soul, defined as a soul. And again, on another podcast, as if you see yourself as one, the aging process, I believe, could actually stop, and you would be youthful and young, well, for as long as you wish to stay in physical form. You created the frequency spa to share with us some of the frequencies that you have that have kept you young and help us stay beautiful from the inside out. But some people think that enhancing beauty is superfluous. Why choose serving vanity when you could be helping with cancers, depression, etc.? Please speak to this point of view. Of course, sure. I have a lot of success with helping people heal themselves. I just want to say that again, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a plastic surgeon or anything like that, a financial analyst. Again, I help you awaken your own natural healing abilities. Okay? And then you cure yourself of cancers, heart issues, distrust, any sense of lack. Again, coming back into your default status. All right. So why don't I spend more time? And I do have a lot of. I do help a lot of people with anxiety, depression, and so on. Those things that people think that matter. Okay, but you know what? On the other side, there's a lot of people who are distorted by their view on how they look. Okay? Is that not just as important as curing somebody from cancer? How much of an epidemic, considered over the human population, is devastated by cancer? Okay, which we might think is extreme, and then how many people go through their days, just like Henry Thoreau said, living in quiet desperation? Is that not a slower form of death? Right? Both sides, whether it's cancer or the inability to not see your true beautiful self, leads to, say, a more distorted, more abusive death. So what's the difference? To me, if I was, say, in an emergency room situation, or a doctor, right, that had to choose time, I would obviously pick somebody who needs immediate attention. So in that scenario, I would see why this question is valid. In my position, again, helping people awaken to all those grandness that we actually are. Okay? If you think about it, okay? Why do cancers, depression, anxiety, those things run rampant in evolved societies? Why are those diseases even there? If people as a whole started to completely awaken, insidious diseases like we're talking about would never exist. Insidious situations where people stab themselves, where people stab others, abuse others, right? Allow countries where they'll spend billions and trillions on war, while their own, say, their own countrymen die of hunger and starvation and abuse and lack of health qualities, or the ability to have medical attention. Why do those things exist? Overall, because we're not awakened. If we awaken as a whole society, those things just eliminate themselves. So does it again matter at what stage I help people awaken? By the way, the frequency spa was created to enhance. Okay, beauty, grace, in anything of that, say, physical nature. Okay? The reason we came up, or the reason how we came up with the frequency spa, is that we were noticing that a lot of individuals who do, spa sessions, spa treatments, and so on like that, with a few sessions with me, or the 21 days and whatever else that they were doing with me, started to notice that, in between time between spa sessions, their beauty extended, longer and longer, so they needed less spa treatments or sessions. So that's how we came up with the frequency spa. As a note, we also help people um, dressed for success. I believe it's called, where I donate time to these individuals, and then that money goes into buying clothes and so on for individuals, young women who don't have the ability to look successful at job interviews, right? Who don't have the ability to, say, create that aura of success, because you if you fake it till you make it. So again, that is a pathway to help them achieve their trueness that they are, especially if they've been abused and distorted. That's a way of, say, shaping them up into, say, strong, confident adults. So that's where the frequency block came up. We still care about looking beautiful if we are free of vanity. If we are free of vanity one day, not really understanding the question, being beautiful and being vain are very different things. Okay? And maybe that's where the distortion comes in many people. And just, and maybe it's covered in the question here, but it's just popping up, or the questions below that I haven't answered. But you know, and this is as a society as whole, and I've seen this. Why do so many people think that just because you're beautiful, you're vain? I want to throw that question out. Is it actually the beautiful person's fault that they're beautiful? Or, okay, that's one question. Okay, whether they take care of themselves or not, why are they naturally beautiful? That's one thing you have to think about. Okay, maybe they're more connected to pure source. That could be a possibility instead of the other way around. But then you see a beautiful individual, and if you're not that beautiful, well, you go, wow, I bet they had Botox to look that beautiful, right? Or wow, I bet they spend a ton of hours at the gym to look that beautiful, or so on and so on and so on. Why would you cut that individual down? That's the one detriment that keeps you where you are. Just like individuals who are against, say, individuals being wealthy, right? They go, wow, who did they have to cheat, right, or lie to have that physical, that abundance, right, that money, that nice car, and so on, right? We look at individuals who are successful and despise, okay, and yet what's almost everybody's dream, whether they're religious or spiritual or or atheist or whatever, right, is to become successful. The one reason you're not successful, right, one basic constant. Right? If you're not successful, if you're despising success in others, well, you're despising success in yourself. So why would that work for you to be successful and happy? Right? And if you're thinking that's the process, why are you actually going towards success anyway? Right? Go live on an island where you can just grow your own food and not be in part of the economic space. Then you'll be happy, so to speak. Right? And you wouldn't have to argue within yourself. This is a good question. I've noticed that people pay more attention to me when I amp up my physical appearance. However, they also want more things from me, project more onto me, and judge me more strongly. To cope with this, I downplay my physical appearance, but I want to stand in my beauty fearlessly. Can you speak to this? Yes, of course. Okay. Again, the constant that this person thinks of is that the issue or the cause of why this person feels the way she does is that, well, it's because of her physical appearance, the beauty. It's really not. Just reading this person, it just seems like she's very insecure. Okay, so what happens is that if she gets, say, any sort of attention, she'll get distorted. Right? That's the program that runs in her. It's not about the beauty. Right? She made a lot of money. That'll distort her as well because people would want the same thing. People would want more things from her, project more onto you, and judge you more strongly. That's part of the course. Okay, those individuals who judge you like that, one, are weak within themselves, so they have to make themselves feel better to make and then downgrade you, right? It kind of levels the playing field. But on the flip side, right, if you're getting affected by that, then there is some form of insecurity that doesn't allow you to hold on. And that's why I always say, you have to have a strong foundation, okay, before beauty, grace, any form of abundance, good relationships come into you and won't distort you. Again, that's a very important constant that I always talk about when people go through their detox phase. If money is a is a distortion, in this case, if beauty is a distortion, what will happen is that although you might look beautiful on the outside, and this does happen to, say, model types and Hollywood types that I work with. Right, what they've done is they've created their confidence around their beauty and looks. Right? As they go through the process with me, that EI, say exfoliation. Actually, that's a good one. EI exfoliation. We'll have to use that in a frequency spot. What happens to them is that they start to look inwards and they start to see the ugliness and so on that is within them. Right? So on the outward appearance, they're not going to be as attractive. They're going to look in the mirror and they go, "Oh my God, I'm ugly." Although other people just glancing at them, they go, "Wow, they're quite beautiful." So what happens is that all that internal ugliness starts to move away from them, okay? And then gets replaced by the true beauty that they are internally, and then the physical beauty that they have, they're attributed with, is even enhanced even more because now they're solid on the inside as well as on the outside. So both inner and outer is congruent, and that's where that space of stability comes into you, and that's where you don't get distorted in any form. People can't abuse you. People can't project their opinions on you because you're, again, nice and solid. One thing to realize, though, the physical beauty, that society thinks, that's not what I'm talking about. Through exponential intelligence, and I'll just say it might not be politically correct, say that you're not that beautiful, okay? According to society standards. Okay? And again, through exponential intelligence, or I've helped a lot of people that are, say, not so beautiful start to look more and more attractive, more and more alluring, right? There's a sense of beauty and grace that comes within, right? And that starts to, again, create a lot of beauty. And then their, say, societal standards of beauty get amped up as well. So, also, let me say this, too. Whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad, and this is happening to me as well. And it's not an ego play. It's just something that people always comment. I'm getting people get more and more attractive to me, or I am more and more attractive to, say, a wider variety of individuals. Right? For example, some women, or even guys, might not like dark hair, dark skin, for example, or the ethnic look that I have. Okay. Right there, just might not be attracted. But as you ascend higher and higher, okay, what happens is that 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 preference within people get distorted. So even if you hate that look, right, being that ethnic look that I am, darker skin, dark hair, even if you, say, despise that look, because it is of purity, you will tend to be attracted by it and lured by it. Right? Happens all the time. As I've ascended higher and higher, people can't figure out, say, what ethnic background I am. If I'm in France, they would think, oh, ethnic of France. If I am in, say, South American, I would look South American. If I look, if I'm speaking to, like Middle Eastern types, well, I would look Middle Eastern. Or if I'm in America, right, I blend in and I just look like, well, like a white American, not stark white, but again, like somebody who was born in America. So that is all because, again, the global settings of ethnicity, the culture, being man and woman, right? All those things start to say fade away, and then there's this beauty and grace that comes through you. Right? If you are of a man, then you become that strong male. But then you go beyond the definitions of a male definition or society's male definition. It goes beyond that. Again, more of a brighter, pure principle of a man, or I'm just talking about man, but then females as well. Right? You go beyond the definitions or the perceptions of what a man and female or woman looks like. Thanks for joining me for Exponential Intelligence episode 101. Be sure to tune in next week for episode 102, where I will answer more questions, more in-depth questions on the relationships between vanity, beauty, and spirituality, how to have it all. Don't forget to register for August Kauai retreat and many other events coming up as well at masajady.com, MASSAJADY.com. Till next time, take care and notice what you notice. For more information on my programs, please visit masajady.com. That's MASSAJADY.com. Or join us on Facebook for more information. We do a lot of Facebook Live